Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Golden Nuggets podcast. My name is Nazrin. I have Hanafi by my side.
Yo, what's up?
And the main host for today is Amir, as usual. And today we have a special guest, a fellow podcaster, the founder of Edit History Podcast. And we are proud to present to you and welcome Cheryl Lau. Welcome to the Golden Nuggets podcast.
Hi everyone, I'm so happy to be here.
How are you?
I am good. It is a very sunny day today.
Yeah, I know, right?
Such a hot day.
Extra warm today. But okay, so Cheryl, for our listeners who don't know you, right? Can you share a bit about yourself?
My name is Cheryl, and as already mentioned, I am the host of the Edit History Podcast, which is a show where I talk to other entrepreneurs and creators, and we look at their old content to see how they have grown from it. We talk about what worked, what didn't work, what would they do differently, so we can ultimately see how their edit history influences their growth and how they have moved forward since then.
Ah, okay. What's the main inspiration behind the podcast?
Yeah.
I would say I am a nosy person and I'm a very emotional person also. And I like to know about what is really the experience for the entrepreneurs and creators that I look up to, because we only see the pretty sides of them, but I'm sure there's a lot that has gone on behind the scenes
Right.
before they got to where they are today. And I really wanted to uncover that in the podcast.
And because your accent is quite different, right? Could you share a bit more about where did you actually studied, or where were you living at one point of time? Are you even Singaporean? I think I never asked you that question before.
So I am PR in Singapore.
Oh, okay.
I am Canadian. I was born in the US, but I am a Canadian citizen. I grew up in US/Canada, and I went to university in Canada, and then I moved to Hong Kong for like 5-6 years afterwards before moving to Singapore around 2022.
Oh,
During the
So you've
end
been
of
here for
COVID.
about 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah, 3
It's
years.
quite recent, yeah?
So that means your podcast was way before you moving here.
Yes, it was a COVID project.
That explains. Everything is online, right?
Yes.
Okay.
2020,
And you living here for the past almost 3 years, right? And back in Canada, how different are things?
Well, I think the biggest difference between Singapore and, let's say, North America, I think really is the safety. I think it is easier to feel safe, like physically safe in Singapore. I think in Canada or US, you kind of always have to like look over your shoulder and kind of just be aware of your surroundings. But here you could really feel more at peace. And the weather, obviously, is a bit different in the two places.
Yeah.
So do you prefer the cold weather or the warm weather?
I am a fan of the hotter weather, but Singapore is really like on the extreme end of the hot
Pushing
side.
you to your
so-
limits, yeah?
Yeah. The humidity, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. But you mentioned about safety, right? I mean, my perception of Canada is actually quite a safe country.
I would agree, but I think there has been a rise in crimes, especially since COVID happened. A lot of my friends who still stay in Canada do sadly say like it's not as safe as it used to be.
Oh, really? Like, what do you think caused the shift?
I think it's really just I think ever since COVID, I think financial times has been a lot harder, and people are resorting to a lot more theft, and that sort of crimes has been
really?
on the rise in Canada.
I mean, like in Singapore, it's pretty safe. But if you talk about digitally, right? Like, there's a lot of online scams that is happening, and I think in the past 2 to 3 years, it has been spiking up. So yes, physically we are safe, but digitally, I think a lot of us are not. Yeah. What do you think about that? Like, do you think back in Canada, the crime rate in terms of like digital scams actually is on the rise, or do you even see, or do you even hear about it?
I would say it's not as common to be reported in the news, but I would imagine it should be also increasing. But I think the political news slash crime rate news, like physical crime rates, I think have been more prevalent on the news. That's what I would suspect.
Okay. And back then, before you moved here and all, right, what were you studying when you were growing up?
Growing up, I was your Asian child's dream kid. I was a really good kid. I got straight A's throughout high school, and mostly in university, I studied a degree in psychology, and it was more on the neuroscience side of psychology.
Okay. And why don't you pursue that career?
Yeah.
I would
Curious.
say, so I was deciding, when I was deciding between what major to specialize in, it was between biology and psychology. But and you had to decide in the second year of university.
Okay.
And I was looking at my two top grades. One was a 97 and one was like a 96. And psychology won by 1%.
Yeah.
1%.
Oh, okay.
So I decided to go for psychology, but also because I had an inkling that, you know, although a lot of Asian parents would want their kids to go into medicine or some kind of healthcare industry, I knew I was really scared of like bodily diseases. And I don't think I would have the stamina to actually go into healthcare. So I thought, okay, let me try psychology and maybe explore like academia as a career path. So that was my initial thought process.
Okay. I mean, you can also study medicine and not do the surgical
Practice.
and the medical stuff, right? Like I have one doctor that I know, he only focused on IT, on medical informatics. So when during NS, he can't even do a IV insertion. Yes, and it's because like throughout his period when he was studying medicine, right, he was really more into the informatics side.
This is really interesting. If you had told me this like a decade or more ago, that might have changed the trajectory of my
You
life.
probably pursue that, right?
I did not know that. I learned something new.
Yeah, I know.
I do
right?
have a question though, because like I did a bit of digging, and then it says like you went to law school as well.
Yes,
interesting.
Yes, that's
Yeah, interesting.
a career detour there.
Okay.
So after,
Yeah. So
Yeah,
okay.
go ahead.
Yeah. It's okay. You can just go ahead first.
so after I finished university, I didn't really know what I was going to do.
Okay.
The long story short is that I saw that there was an opportunity to apply to law school in Hong Kong, and my parents at the time were already living in Hong Kong.
Okay.
So after I turned 18, they moved back to Hong Kong. They really struggled to assimilate in North America. So there was an opportunity to be closer to my parents and apply to a graduate school program that I thought, wow, like this is gonna make my parents so proud and such a fancy job title.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be set for life.
Okay.
But there was a second layer of the story, which is I met my then boyfriend, now husband.
Okay.
So we met in Canada, but he moved back to Singapore.
Okay, so
after
he's a
graduation.
Singaporean.
He's a Singaporean. So at that point in time, he had moved back to Singapore. My parents were in Hong Kong, and I had just graduated and not really knowing what I would do next.
Yeah.
So everything pointed to law school in Hong Kong.
Okay. Okay. But did you like complete your studies?
I completed 1 year and 2 months
Okay.
of the degree. 1
Okay.
year and 2 months.
Okay. And throughout that 1 year and 2 months, right, do you really find it enjoyable? Like, do you think it's something at that point of time, before talking about thinking about getting married and all, right? Do you think that this is a career that you really want to, or do you immediately regret joining after you have joined law school?
Right. So as a very studious, scholarly person, I would say, studying came quite naturally to me.
Okay.
That's good.
Getting good grades was quite okay for me.
Okay.
So during the studying part of law school, it wasn't too bad. It was more difficult than undergraduate studies, but it wasn't too bad.
Okay.
It wasn't until I actually started my internships
Okay.
when I realized, oh, something feels really off. Like I could study and work with lots of documents and study them, but when it actually came to doing practical work, and I was just an intern, like I wasn't even doing the real lawyer work.
Yeah.
Right.
But I already had an inkling that this isn't
For you.
the career path. And I was so young back then, I didn't really have the experience or maturity to understand why being a lawyer did not feel like the right fit, but something told me this wasn't it.
Okay.
So by the 1 year and 2 months, by the second month of the second year, I actually decided to quit law school.
Okay. But in hindsight, what was the main issue? What were you actually feeling at that point of time?
It was, and I think I have a bit better language now to describe it, but I think it's like, I don't want to say intuition. I don't think that's the correct word here.
Okay.
But it's like, you know that you have certain characteristics and strengths and traits. But when I looked around at the lawyers around me, I didn't see those kind of characteristics or traits
In
around
you.
me, and I felt like I could do good work somewhere else. I didn't feel like being in a law firm was where I could use my strengths the best.
Okay. But the law firm that you were interning at, right? Like, what kind of law were they practicing?
So this was an in-house legal department at a multinational corporation.
So it's like corporate law.
Yeah.
I would assume that would be like not bad, right?
I agree, and that's why I realized, wow, like if I'm not even at a law firm, like a legit law firm, an international law firm, and I'm already feeling a bit of friction, then maybe it's time to at least tweak that 5% that feels off.
Okay. So you mentioned that you quit not because you weren't capable, but rather it wasn't aligned. So how did you come to that clarity?
I think I could only say more confidently now, years later, that I have made the right decision. But at the time, it felt like, I don't know if this is the right decision. But I think what helped me make the decision at the time was, I think, number one, I think I had the privilege of living with my parents. I think I have to acknowledge that living with my parents helped with a lot of costs, because when I told them, hey, I think I want to leave law school, they were so angry because
Asian parents.
Right, and I even got a scholarship to go to law school.
So that means like there were liabilities.
Luckily, no. Luckily, I only had to pay a bit of a penalty fee, but I did not have to pay the scholarship back. But they were furious, and they started saying all these things that I used to quit as a child, like swimming lessons and playing competitive chess, and they just started naming everything I quit and called me a quitter. My mom even said, you need to bring harmony back to the family. That one really stung. But I did have the privilege of living at home at the time, which meant that I knew they wouldn't kick me out, even though they were so angry. So I knew I had some time that I could buy some time and figure out my next steps there. But I really knew intuitively that my strengths could be better utilized somewhere else. And I also knew that my personality type, being a lawyer, I don't know if that's where I would have thrived.
Yeah.
I think I could do okay, but I don't think I would have excelled.
Okay. What were your parents doing at that point of time? Like, are they running their own business or?
No, they're not entrepreneurs. They both work in healthcare.
Oh, okay. Which department?
My mom just works in a general like family clinic.
Okay.
And my dad is like in an admin healthcare kind of role.
Oh, okay. So technically, they could have told you that, hey, you can be a doctor and do.
I think my dad
medical informatics.
secretly hoped that I would have gone into healthcare.
Okay.
He really hoped so, but I think he knows I'm terrified of like scars and diseases. And whenever I see like if I had like eczema on my skin, I would get freaked out. And I think those were clear signs that medicine may not have been the right fit.
Okay. Are you the only child?
I am an only child.
Okay.
Does it come out like that?
So there definitely has a lot of expectation on you. Right?
Yeah, I would say so.
Are they? What nationality are they?
They are both Hong Kong, but I believe they have Canadian passports.
Okay. So they were from Hong Kong and then they moved to Canada.
Yes.
And then they don't feel like it's the right fit, and that's the reason why they went back to Hong Kong.
That is correct.
And that's also why your journey is as such.
Yes.
And you met your husband in Canada, right? And when you moved to Hong Kong, did he also move to Hong Kong?
No, so we met 5 days before he flew back to Singapore.
Oh.
So we were long distance the entire dating relationship until I moved to Singapore in 2022. Then we were finally not in a long distance relationship.
Okay. And what is your husband doing?
He works at a bank.
Okay.
I wish I could explain what he does, but I'm not very well versed in his field.
Okay. And how does your parents feel when you decide to move to Singapore?
Yeah, what would their reaction?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like first you leave law school.
Yeah, and then you're
Suddenly,
leaving
like-
them to go to Singapore.
Yeah.
Right. So after I quit law school, I dabbled in a few different things, including getting a research job because I knew I needed to make money.
Okay.
And I knew that research is something I could have an interest in because I worked in research for most of my academic university journey. So I applied to a bunch of research roles and I got a full-time role eventually. And I loved it so much that I actually decided to apply to be a PhD student under my supervisor or boss at the
okay.
time. So when COVID hit, I was a PhD student. I just started
okay.
my PhD when COVID hit. But when I accepted the offer for a PhD, I thought, oh, this COVID thing is only going to be like 4 months at
Yeah.
most.
Yeah.
It can't be that long. Things will be fine. Me and my partner will be back to like seeing each other once every 4 or 5 months. It'll be fine
Yeah.
because we were Hong Kong, Singapore long distance. But then COVID made it difficult to travel, and Singapore and Hong Kong had really strict travel
Yes.
restrictions. So we did not see each other for almost 2 years.
Oh.
Wow.
And that's when I decided at this point in my life journey, I think finishing the PhD does not make sense right now. And I
Okay.
think being with my loved ones mattered
Right.
more. So I actually quit graduate school
Okay.
a second time. This time it was a PhD to move to Singapore. But interestingly, my parents' reactions were very different. So the first time they were so angry.
Yeah.
They were, bring harmony back into the family, that kind of reaction. But this time they actually said, why are you doing this PhD again? Like, why are you here? Like, why don't you just go to Singapore? So they were actually very supportive of the decision.
So did you tell them that I'm doing this because of you?
That would have been funny. That was not the reason I did the PhD, but that would have been a very funny conversation.
Yeah. But honestly, why did you do the PhD?
When I first quit law school and I was looking for jobs and trying to find my footing,
Yeah.
I applied to many, many research jobs in Hong Kong, but only got 2 interviews and 1 offer in the end.
Oh.
And this was the professor that I worked with for about 2 years before applying to be his student
Okay.
in the PhD program. And during that point in my life, it felt like he was the only one who saw my potential.
Okay.
That was the story I told myself for a few years. And I also really liked our working relationship. And I really got to see myself grow as a potential academic. I wrote a lot of papers. I really enjoyed being in that environment. And so I wanted to see where I could go as a PhD and
Yeah.
maybe a professor.
Okay. But it's not really because of the job that you have. That's the reason why you take up the PhD.
I would say I liked my job so much I wanted to take it to the next level because when I had the
so
job,
that's the reason why for the PhD.
yeah, because as a research assistant, I did not have a master's or a PhD at that point in time. So I wondered if I did have a further degree, where could I go?
So was that question answered? I mean, like I know you did not, but because sometimes we want to do things first and then we will see what's the answer, right? But I think as we grow older, in hindsight, we know that we should actually find out what is the actual direction before we actually do it, right?
Now that I think about it, I think that I could see that the act of getting a PhD degree, it's not something that at this point in my life I need or want. And
Okay.
I think although I still am curious about like, oh, what would it be like if I'm a Dr. Cheryl Lau, like with a PhD?
Yeah.
I think that there's other ways for me to feed my intellectual curiosity or the academic side of me without a PhD, which is also why I podcast because there's questions that I want to explore further and I can talk to people and that's how I can feed my knowledge gaps.
Okay.
So this whole PhD thing was in 2018, 2019?
About 2020 to 2022.
2020.
So that was basically the period where you started your podcast also, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Will you substitute PhD and podcast?
I think my podcast has replaced the PhD. I definitely think that's the case. I started both around the same time because I thought my dream at the time was I'm going to be a professor with a podcast on the side or with a consulting business on the side. That was my ambitious dream for like 5-10 years later. But I think starting your podcast and building your own thing is a lot faster than going through the system of a PhD.
So do you start the podcast because you were doing the consultation business, or was it the other way around?
I would say I started the consulting business first, and then I decided that I wanted to create more longer form content because apparently I had a lot of things to say.
And that was supposedly a side hustle.
That was a side hustle. My first branding, the way I branded myself back then was a side hustle. Side hustle club, side hustle coach,
and then thought leadership club.
Yes, and it rebranded to thought leadership, or what I felt like was thought leadership.
Okay, so my question to you is, how did it evolve, right, from being a side hustle to a full-time 6-figure business?
So I side hustled for about 3 years until 2022 when I quit my PhD and then took the business into my current main role. And I think I saw that because when I first started my brand, my consulting business, my podcast, side hustler was the identity I really associated with. But over time, I realized that it wasn't, I saw that there was a shift or in the identity I attached myself to. And I felt that people were really starting to associate me with side hustler. Like the associations were very strong because I've been building that brand for 3 years. But I realized that this is because I've been building a body of work around side hustling. And so I thought, okay, so it's not so much because I call myself a side hustler that people know me for that, but it's because I built a body of work over the past few years and now people associate me with that. So I wanted to talk about how building a body of work creates your thought leadership, even if you don't have a PhD, because I had just quit my PhD, so I don't have a PhD. But because I built a body of work, I've now created a lot more opportunities, clients, and a name for myself.
Nice.
And how? Okay, so you were doing your research work, right? And then you were also starting your business, right? Like, how were you juggling? Because I know research work can sometimes be a 24-hour thing. I'm not too sure what the research you are in terms of medical research, right? There are times where you need to be there as early as 4 a.m., just to collect some data of certain procedures that is being done. What kind of research were you doing, and how were you juggling both the business and also your research work?
I resonate with that question because when I was in university, I did a lot of laboratory experiments with mice. So I had to be in the physical lab to make sure the mice are fed and to do the relevant experiments. And then I'll be going home around 9 p.m., even as a student back then. When I was doing my PhD, it was in the social work department. So it was with humans, a lot of qualitative work. So it's a lot of conversations, a lot of interviews. And so I didn't have to be necessarily in a laboratory doing chemistry things. So I had a lot more flexibility, and also because it was COVID, that restricted a lot of the research work that I couldn't do. So I was fortunate in that way that I had a lot more time flexibility to balance the two. But I will say that before COVID hit, so when I was still doing my full-time work as a research assistant and starting my podcast, or haven't started my podcast yet, but I was starting my consulting business, I would wake up at 5 a.m. and start having client calls. And then I would go to the office around 9 a.m. and then stay until 6 p.m. And during the lunch break, I would also have a client call. And then at night, I would go back to creating content. So I did work a lot, but it felt like very fulfilling work.
But 5 a.m., like, are your clients like from other countries? Or?
Oh, yes, good question. Yes. A lot of my clients are from overseas, which is why the reverse time zones made it okay to wake up at 5 a.m. and have work to do.
Okay, so speaking about your clients, right, I'm sure, let me just try to extract a few learning lessons for the listeners, because we do have like people who are on the brink of wanting to be an entrepreneur and they're still not sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's a very strong word, being unsure.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you have like some clients who go from unsure to unstoppable, right? So maybe can you share some of these client stories that can be of benefit to the listeners?
Yeah.
I think I will tailor my answers to the listeners who are right now still working in a job and now they're thinking, should I start something?
Yeah.
I think the first thing I will say is that I'm very biased towards, I'm in favor of side hustling first. I do think if you can side hustle first, just so you can at least test it out and have a income coming in.
Yeah.
Because I
Pick
think-
up certain skills, right?
yeah, and build your skills, because just like being in any career, whether it's a social worker or a teacher, you need to go through training and practical
Upskill,
work.
yeah.
To actually get the experiences before you get paid for the work.
Yep.
So I do think that starting a business, to some extent, I think that kind of philosophy does apply here. Yeah, like you do need to build up your skills before you're paid appropriately for your work. So I do think if you can side hustle for a few years first, if possible, then decide whether you want to do it full time or not. I think having the option is a great privilege. So I would encourage anyone to work their way up to having the option first. That said, when I'm currently thinking about two clients that I know, one of them is a podcaster, but they do not have any intention of becoming a full-time entrepreneur per se. They really enjoy that balance of podcasting. And they also have a side business, like a product-based business outside of their full-time role. I can also think of other clients who enjoy balancing the side hustle life with their full-time job. And some folks obviously do want to pursue the entrepreneur life as their full-time career. But I think working your way up to having the decision, like do you want option A, B, or C, I think is the way to go.
And that being said, because sometimes some people may have this misconception where side hustle means any part-time jobs at the side, like perhaps doing Grab driver or doing Food Panda. So and this their thought process will be I'm just doing something on the side to earn extra income. But maybe you should can you address in the sense of what kind of skills they should pick up from the side hustles that they do, so that they can have a clearer picture on the type of side hustles that they can go for before they start their business full time?
So I'm mostly familiar with the service-based side hustles like web designer or consultants or coaches. I've also worked with like English tutors who sold their English, actually English pronunciation was her specialty. I've worked with a lot of web designers. So a lot of them have skills that are more like service-based skills. So that's what I can speak on more confidently. What I do think might be helpful for the listener is to really start thinking of what is the body of work that you can start building today. Because whether or not you choose to start a business or you decide that you actually do enjoy your current role at your company, I think that having a body of work is something that is more and more relevant, especially now that using AI to write content is becoming more prevalent. I think it's more important than ever to start now and practice the skill of writing and sharing your ideas in a voice that is in integrity with you, because soon everyone will have a body of work. But those who have a track record from early on can stand out in 1 year's time when everyone is now building their personal brands. But those who have that track record can prove that they have been in the game for a while. I think a lot of folks should really start taking their body of work on online presence more seriously.
Okay. Is that where you learn about branding and personal branding, a bit of marketing? Because from my point of view, if we were to talk about your podcast, right, I think the entire structure of your podcast is robust, that actually a lot of podcasters should actually model what you have been doing. You have a newsletter, and then from that newsletter you have a call to action to watch the full episode, which I think when we meet a lot of the other podcasters, they don't have
like these kind of systems in place.
All these the skills that you actually pick up before you start your business full time.
I would say so. I think I've met a lot of friends along the way. I've met other folks who are more well-versed in marketing than me. And I think they have given me perspectives and tips along the way. But I think that having conversations with people who are doing what you want will be really helpful here, because for example, a lot of people see that I have like a content ecosystem now, and I think for me, if it was just up to me, I would just be posting happily and creating content without any regard for the content ecosystem. So I think I'm very lucky to have met a lot of folks along the way who have shared with me, hey, you should consider like adding a call to action here, or oh, maybe this could tie into a newsletter and the newsletter could tie into your offer. So people just pointing out the blind spots that you don't see for yourself, I think is really important.
So all these suggestions become like feedback to you.
Yes.
Nice.
And before we end the first part, would you say that networking is also one of the key things that they should pick up? Because from what you said, a lot of the people that you have met along the way are the ones who actually shown you and also rectified your blind spots, right?
I think so. I think not only blind spots, but they will be there during the times when you want to give up on your business or building your personal brand. I think that's going to be inevitable for a lot of entrepreneurs, especially solo entrepreneurs. There will be times when you feel like this is not working and you feel so discouraged, but you will need a voice of reason that's external to you, who sees what's possible for you and believes in your potential and tells you, hey, like you have something good going, like don't give up yet, like can you try this or explore this or keep going, like you're just starting to build the momentum. And I think in those moments, having a network or friends will be invaluable.
I think that part we must make into a reel.
Yeah, clip that.
Okay, that's it, right? I think one of the things that you mentioned that really resonated well with me was using it as a side hustle first, right? Creating a side hustle before you actually dive in full time, because that's exactly my journey. Like I started as a driver and I was doing websites as a side hustle until the voice of reason, my then girlfriend, now wife, actually told me like, hey, you're really good at this. You should just do this full time.
Yeah.
That said, I have one last final question, but it's not for you, it's for Nazrin. Which part of the conversation resonated the most?
I like the part where you make pivots from your education in US, Toronto, right, and then and Hong Kong. So we make quick decisions for you to pivot quickly. So that is something which I feel anyone. I mean, they need to move ahead. If not, you'll be like behind, or you'll be,
so must have the
courage and do things quick. If not, you'll be like wondering what to do, and then yet you don't do anything else. So that's powerful.
Yeah, I think what I took away from that was that only you can decide your own journey.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And with that being said, I think we should end this part one. I hope you guys managed to get some golden nuggets from here and there, bits and pieces. That being said, see you in part two. Bye bye.
Bye bye.